Last time on Squared Circle History, Stone Cold Steve Austin engaged in a bitter war with the Canadian patriot Bret the Hitman Hart and his band of brothers known as the Hart Foundation. Paul Bearer revealed a shocking secret that the WWF champion The Undertaker burned his parents and younger brother alive. The Undertaker didn't deny it, but claimed it was an accident. Bearer further raised eyebrows when he revealed that Taker's younger brother Kane was still alive. Meanwhile, professional jealousy was about to reach its boiling point between two of the company's top stars. Both the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart made it clear the company wasn't big enough for the two of them. All this would culminate in the single most controversial match and moment in company history. Join us on this trip as we journey back to 1997, Part 2. WWF Intercontinental Champion Owen Hart defended his title against Stone Cold Steve Austin on August 3rd at SummerSlam. This was dubbed a Kiss My Ass match. The match began as an exciting back and forth encounter, but eventually took a turn for the worse. Owen hoisted Austin up for a tombstone piledriver. Instead of landing on his knees, Owen landed on his posterior, driving Austin headfirst into the canvas and compressing his spine. Austin laid still on the mat, unknowingly suffering from a broken neck. Owen pandered to the crowd while the referee attended to Austin. Miraculously, Austin rolled up Owen and scored the pinfall victory to become the new WWF Intercontinental Champion. Several officials helped Austin to his feet, and he raised his newly won title over his head. Austin stumbled up the aisle with the assistance of two officials. The following night on Raw is War, Owen Hart faced Dude Love in the main event. Bret Hart sat in on commentary and attacked Dude behind the referee's back. Owen locked Dude in the sharpshooter, which brought out Stone Cold Steve Austin. A slew of officials came between Austin and Bret. While everyone's attention was diverted, Austin clobbered Owen with a Slammy Award. Dude covered Owen and scored a pinfall victory. The August 18th Raw is War featured an interview JR conducted with Stone Cold Steve Austin in a hotel room. Austin said that when he returns, Owen Hart has hell to pay. He also discussed that doctors told him to retire, but that's not going to happen. Austin said he'll be at In Your House Ground Zero. WWF President Sergeant Slaughter suspended Austin and ordered him to forfeit his WWF Tag Team Championship at the September 7th event. At In Your House Ground Zero, Dude Love was the first to relinquish his WWF Tag Team Championship to Commissioner Slaughter. Austin marched to the ring and threw his title at the feet of the Commissioner. JR praised Austin and said he hopes he returns soon. Austin responded by giving JR a Stone Cold Stunner. Medics attended to JR as Austin flipped the middle fingers at Slaughter. The vacant WWF Tag Team Championships were on the line in a fatal four-way featuring the Legion of Doom, Owen Hart, and WWF European Champion, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, the Headbangers, and the Godwins. LOD were disqualified for using the slop bucket on the Godwins. The Godwins were eliminated soon after by the Headbangers. The Bulldog and Thrasher brawled outside the ring, diverting the referee's attention. As Owen locked the sharpshooter on Mosh, Austin ran into the ring and delivered a Stone Cold Stunner to Owen. Mosh scored the pinfall on Owen, with the Headbangers becoming the new WWF Tag Team Champions. Vince McMahon opened the September 8th Raw is War, conducting an in-ring interview with Commissioner Slaughter. Slaughter reiterated that Austin is suspended until medically cleared to compete. A tournament would begin to crown a new Intercontinental Champion, culminating at October 5th's In Your House Bad Blood. Slaughter demanded that Austin be there to hand over his title. At that, Austin marched to the ring and delivered a stunner to Slaughter. Officials rushed to the ring as McMahon scolded Austin. Austin screamed right back, with officials coming between the two. The following week, Jerry the King Lawler interviewed Austin in the ring. The Hart Foundation interrupted, with Owen Hart having Austin served with a restraining order. Lawler barked at Austin, who tried reading the paperwork. Annoyed, Austin delivered a stunner to Lawler. The September 22nd Raw is War emanated from Madison Square Garden. Owen Hart and Brian Pillman competed in an Intercontinental Championship tournament match. Marlena, clad in black leather and sporting a nose ring, accompanied Pillman to the ring. Goldust rushed the ring and attacked Pillman, with officials having to restrain the Bizarre One. While Goldust chased off Pillman, Owen went on the microphone and gloated about his victory. Police restrained Austin until Vince McMahon hopped into the ring and demanded a few words. McMahon asked Austin if he understood why he can't compete and the consequences if he tried to. He demanded Austin get a hold of himself. McMahon said that the WWF cares about his well-being. Austin said, "I appreciate the fact that you and the World Wrestling Federation care. And I also appreciate the fact that, hell, you can kiss my ass." Austin went on to deliver a stunner to McMahon in an infamous Raw moment. Austin was promptly arrested and escorted out of the building, with the crowd going wild. Austin came to the ring on the September 29th Raw is War to confront Vince McMahon. McMahon entered the ring, got in Austin's face, and said, "You are either a certifiable lunatic or you really just don't give a damn." He went on to say that he didn't give a damn anymore either, and Austin's abuse against officials would stop right now. McMahon gave Austin three options: present a doctor's note clearing him to compete, return to competition but sign a waiver clearing WWF of any responsibility if injured, or be fired. Austin said he'd either sign the waiver or shove it up McMahon's ass. He went on to say that if he's fired, he'd beat the hell out of McMahon. Later in the broadcast, Owen Hart came to the ring with his own Riot Squad. Hart sported a shirt that read Owen 316 on the front and "I just broke your neck" written on the back. He was the guest of Vince McMahon for an in-ring interview. Owen tried to persuade McMahon to fire Austin. Suddenly, one of the Riot Squad members unmasked, revealing himself to be Austin. After delivering a stunner to Hart, Austin ran away through the crowd with security chasing after him. In Your House Bad Blood took place on October 5th and featured Owen Hart against Farouk in the finals of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. Austin came to the ring carrying the Intercontinental Championship and sat in on commentary. He'd also get involved in the match, clobbering Farouk with the championship. This allowed Owen to gain a pinfall victory and become a two-time Intercontinental Champion. The following night on Raw is War, Austin came to the ring for an interview conducted by Vince McMahon. Austin failed to present a doctor's note. McMahon handed him a waiver that would allow him to compete. Austin said he'd only sign the waiver if McMahon promised him a match with Owen Hart. McMahon agreed to these terms, but Austin would only sign the waiver when he was presented a contract for the match with Owen. Farouk and the Nation of Domination appeared on the screen and said he's going to get revenge on Austin. Austin showed no signs of fear, shoving McMahon and then kicking Jerry the King Lawler's crown into the crowd. On the October 13th Raw is War, Vince McMahon stood in the ring with a waiver and a contract for a match against WWF Intercontinental Champion Owen Hart. Austin marched to the ring and forced McMahon to sign the paperwork first. After McMahon signed, Austin climbed to the middle rope with the paperwork and signed it. The deal was sealed with a tense handshake. McMahon was persistent, asking Austin why he helped out Owen at Bad Blood. Austin replied, saying that he had no problem with Farouk, but he wants to win the Intercontinental Championship from Owen Hart. Farouk and the Nation of Domination interrupted. Austin dared any one of them to fight him right now. Rocky Maivia raced to the ring, but was immediately stunned. As the Nation ran to the ring, Austin retreated through the crowd. Owen Hart defended the WWF Intercontinental Championship against Stone Cold Steve Austin at the November 9th Survivor Series. Owen attempted to escape early on, but Austin ran after him and dragged him back into the ring. Owen even attempted to get disqualified by choking Austin with a cable, but the referee wouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt. Austin soon delivered a Stone Cold Stunner to score the win and become a two-time WWF Intercontinental Champion. Doug Furnas and Philip LaFawn ran to the ring one by one, both receiving stunners in the process. On the July 28th Raw is War, a mannequin in a gold dress stood at ringside. Goldust and Marlena made their entrance, with the Bizarre One provoking Brian Pillman over the microphone. Marlena followed up, saying Pillman didn't fill out his tights too well and would be better suited for one of her dresses. Goldust went on to face Rockabilly. Boxing great Michael Moorer sat at ringside and even knocked out Rockabilly. Pillman interfered, attacking Goldust and destroying the mannequin. He went on to choke Goldust with the dress. Marlena hopped on Pillman's back, choking him. Officials filled the ring, and Pillman retreated. Goldust and Pillman squared off on August 3rd at SummerSlam. It was Goldust who got the last laugh, kissing Pillman and smearing makeup all over his face. Marlena clobbered Pillman with her purse, allowing Goldust to secure a pinfall victory. Pillman went ballistic, destroying the mannequin and ripping apart the dress. The following night, Pillman competed in a dress against Bob Sparkplug Holly. Goldust and Marlena sat at ringside, distracting Pillman and causing him to get counted out. This meant Pillman had to continue competing in a dress until he picked up a victory. Pillman competed against Flash Funk on the August 11th Raw is War. During the bout, Goldust and Marlena aired footage on the Titantron of Pillman putting on his dress earlier in the locker room. Distracted, Pillman was rolled up by Funk, who scored a pinfall victory. The following week, Pillman faced Double J Jesse James. Goldust interfered and struck James, causing Pillman to lose by disqualification. Pillman grabbed the microphone and proposed a challenge to Goldust for In Your House Ground Zero. If Pillman lost, he'd leave the company. If he won, he'd get the services of Marlena for 30 days. Goldust refused, causing Pillman to prod him further. Pillman said that Dakota, Goldust and Marlena's daughter, was actually his. This infuriated Goldust and caused Marlena to accept the challenge. In Your House Ground Zero took place on September 7th, featuring Goldust against Brian Pillman. During the bout, Pillman stole Marlena's purse and clobbered Goldust with it. This allowed Pillman to pick up a pinfall victory and drag Marlena up the aisle with him. The following night on Raw is War, Pillman was scheduled to face Dude Love. Goldust stood in Dude's corner, waiting for the appearance of Pillman. But Pillman knew better, appearing on the Titantron with a self-shot series of videos called Brian Pillman's XXX Files. The videos were shot in various hotel rooms and showed a distraught Marlena. On the September 13th Shotgun Saturday Night, an XXX Files aired featuring Marlena pleading with Goldust to take care of Dakota. Pillman and Dude Love finally squared off on the September 15th Raw is War. Pillman dragged Marlena to the ring, who was clad in black leather and sporting a nose ring. Goldust interfered during the bout, attacking Pillman to cause the disqualification. Pillman dragged Marlena away as officials restrained Goldust. The October 4th Shotgun Saturday Night featured Pillman facing the Patriot. Goldust attacked Pillman during the bout to cause a disqualification. Brian Pillman was scheduled to face Goldust on the October 5th In Your House Bad Blood. Earlier that day, Pillman sadly passed away in his hotel room from a heart condition. The following night on Raw is War, the roster stood on the stage as the timekeeper tolled the bell 10 times, honoring the life of Brian Pillman. Melanie Pillman, Brian's widow, appeared via satellite on that edition of Raw is War from her home. Vince McMahon interviewed her about her late husband and the many lives he changed. The Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels appeared on the March 17th Raw is War. He stated that he'd be returning to the ring in a few months. Bret Hart came to the ring on the March 24th Raw is War, stealing the microphone from JR. He proceeded to apologize to all of his fans around the world, with the exception of the fans in the United States. Bret admitted that he couldn't understand why the fans cheered Stone Cold Steve Austin after he beat him at WrestleMania 13. He added that his disgust actually began after WrestleMania 12 when the fans cheered for the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels instead of him. For months, Bret sat at home feeling like he was screwed out of the title. He also felt that the company needed a true hero. So he came back, beat Austin, and went on to be the last legal man standing in the Royal Rumble match, but he was screwed out of that too. He went on to claim HBK feigned a knee injury, but benefited when he became the new WWF champion in the Final Four match. Bret complained he had to defend the title the next night against Psycho Sid. He couldn't justify how it was acceptable that Austin cost him the championship. In response, he was awarded a steel cage match against Sid, where there wasn't supposed to be interference. The Undertaker interfered and cost Bret the title. Bret felt betrayed by the American fans for cheering on everybody else except him. He said that the American fans don't know what it means to have dignity and poise, and just wants to bring back prestige and class. Because of this, he doesn't respect the American fans. HBK interrupted, saying he's proud of who he is and that he can accept his own faults. He also said that Bret never made Austin submit. Austin passed out. HBK said he's tried to take the high road and doesn't obsess like Bret does. He said, "I do this because I like it. You do it because in your mind, Mark Man, you really think all this is yours." The American fans have freedom of expression thanks to the First Amendment and can cheer and boo whoever they want. While he's in no shape to fight, HBK said he'd fight Bret. HBK reminded Bret of the old American expression, "Love it or leave it." Bret suggested HBK get out of his face, but that didn't happen. Once HBK questioned Bret's sexuality, the Hitman snapped. Bret applied a figure 4 to HBK around the ring post, wrenching at his injured knee. A slew of officials rushed to ringside in an attempt to pry Bret off of HBK. Once Psycho Sid came out, Bret retreated. HBK came to the ring on the April 7th Raw is War for an interview with Vince McMahon. In reference to Hart's attack, he said he's used to getting beat up for opening his mouth. He said, "I'm not going to lie to you. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart loathe each other." HBK said Bret has always been a bad guy. While Bret claims the WWF exploits his family, HBK says Bret's actually the one dragging his family onto television. He said, if Bret can make a buck, he'd sell his mother. HBK said he used to support Bret, but Bret never wanted to return the favor. He said Bret took time off to prove the company would fall flat on their face without him and HBK on top. They didn't, and did better business than they had in the past 6 years. HBK said Bret didn't come back for the fans, and it was really for his own financial gain. He went on to say that he doesn't wrestle for money, he wrestles because he cares about the company. HBK told the fans not to let a superstar tell them what to do. He added that Bret's obsession with HBK and the WWF Championship will lead to his own destruction. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith interrupted as HBK was dancing. HBK grabbed a chair and held the two back. Vince McMahon interviewed HBK in the ring on the May 5th Raw is War. He noted that he's not afraid of the Hart Foundation. HBK said that there's no stronger faction in wrestling than the Clique. McMahon questioned HBK when he'll return. HBK announced he'd compete at the King of the Ring. He said he'd go through every member of the Hart Foundation in order to get to Bret. As HBK slapped hands with the fans, Bret appeared on the Titantron. He talked smack about HBK and then sent out Jim the Anvil Neidhart. HBK attacked, with the two brawling. This brought out Owen and the Bulldog, making it 3-on-1 against HBK. The Legion of Doom ran in to make the save and clean house. The Hart Foundation appeared in the ring together the following week on Raw is War. Bret sent his fellow stablemates to the back and called out HBK. With Bret in a wheelchair, HBK snarled over him. Bret said he hated HBK's guts. He said that HBK symbolized Americans with their cockiness and attitudes. Bret added that, like America, HBK is rotting away on the inside. He said that HBK screwed him out of the title. Bret then judged HBK for posing in girly magazines. He called HBK a self-professed degenerate. In terms of coming back for money, Bret said, "Who isn't controlled by the almighty dollar?" He said that anything he does shouldn't concern HBK. While the show went off the air with Bret continuing his verbal tirade on HBK, the cameras kept rolling. Bret stood in his wheelchair and said that HBK didn't have the guts to hit him. HBK delivered sweet chin music to Bret, sending him tumbling backwards over his wheelchair. The Hart Foundation ran in, with HBK dodging them. The Bulldog got his hands on HBK and tried to throw him off the stage. Stone Cold Steve Austin ran out for the save, wielding a crutch. Officials broke things up, and the Hart Foundation attended to a hurt hitman. Bret appeared on the May 19th Raw is War amongst the Hart Foundation for an in-ring interview. He challenged HBK to face him in a match at the King of the Ring. The match would have a 10-minute time limit. If HBK could beat Bret in 10 minutes, Bret would never wrestle in the United States ever again. HBK appeared on the Titantron, saying he'd only accept the challenge if the other 4 members of the Hart Foundation were handcuffed to each ring post. He further insulted Bret by saying he couldn't go 10 minutes in any situation. Further provoking Bret, HBK said lately Bret had sunny days, insinuating an affair with Sunny. Ultimately, Bret's knee wasn't healed in time, and the match was cancelled. Vince McMahon interviewed HBK in the ring on the July 14th Raw is War. HBK begged Vince to be a part of SummerSlam in some form. Raw is War was in Canada the following week. HBK came to the ring to a sea of boos, joining JR for an interview. He saluted the American flag, which was hanging on a pole for the flag match main event. The fans responded by throwing mini Canadian flags into the ring. HBK insulted the fans and said he'd be part of Team USA in the main event. The big news was that HBK announced he'd be the special guest referee in the match between WWF champion The Undertaker and Bret Hitman Hart at SummerSlam. If he didn't call the match down the middle, he'd also never wrestle in the United States ever again. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and The Patriot competed in a match in the following segment. Bret came to the ring with Owen and the Bulldog in tow. Bret marched up to Vince McMahon on commentary and voiced his disgust for HBK's announcement. Hart slapped the headset off Vince's head, which caused a great reaction from the fans. In a wild scene, Bret grabbed Vince by the shirt, with the two getting in a tussle. The the Patriot broke it up, but fell victim to a Hart Foundation beatdown. Officials restored order, with the Hart Foundation escorted to the back. The main event of the July 28th Raw is War featured Bret Hart against the Patriot. HBK sat in for commentary. Bret demanded that the Canadian national anthem be played before his match. The Patriot made his entrance and demanded the playing of the American national anthem, which the Pittsburgh fans stood for. Bret attacked before the finish of the anthem, gaining an early advantage. The referee got knocked out, getting too close to the action. This caused HBK to leave the commentary booth and break up Bret's pin. Bret yelled at HBK and got rolled up in the process, with the Patriot gaining a victory. The Undertaker defended the WWF Championship against Bret the Hitman Hart, with the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee in the main event of the August 3rd SummerSlam. Paul Bearer came to ringside during the bout. The Undertaker struck him, with Hart capitalizing on the distraction. The Hart Foundation then came to ringside, with Undertaker fighting them off. Bret continued his attack on Undertaker, hitting a superplex and applying the sharpshooter. Miraculously, Undertaker powered out of the sharpshooter and sent Bret flying to the floor. Bret clobbered Undertaker with a chair behind HBK's back. HBK saw the chair and questioned Bret about it. Bret became frustrated and spit in HBK's face. HBK swung the chair at Bret, who ducked, with the chair wrapping around the head of The Undertaker. HBK had no choice but to count the pinfall for Bret, who scored the victory to become a 5-time WWF champion. The following night on Raw is War, Vince McMahon conducted an in-ring interview with HBK. McMahon was quick to blame HBK for costing The Undertaker the WWF Championship. HBK was quick to defend himself, saying he called the match down the middle. McMahon proceeded to ask HBK if he was in cahoots with Bret Hart. HBK called McMahon dumb and kicked him out of the ring. The crowd booed HBK, who turned on the fans and hyped his match with The Undertaker at In Your House Ground Zero on September 7th. He said, "Undertaker, the next time you see me, it's going to be one super kick right down your throat." The Undertaker immediately came to the ring, with HBK running away through the crowd. McMahon interviewed The Undertaker, who said that HBK would pay for his crimes. Paul Bearer interrupted, calling Undertaker a murderer. He said Kane is ready, and he'll be here soon. Everything turned red as The Undertaker made his exit. HBK came to the ring for an interview with JR on the August 11th Raw is War to hype his main event bout with Mankind. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted, with HBK mocking his large jaw. Slaughter laid down the law, and HBK didn't seem worried. HBK and Mankind collided in the main event. Mankind came to the ring carrying a trash can, which he promptly threw into the ring. HBK clobbered him with the trash can. The brawling continued, with HBK backdropping Mankind onto the broadcast table and dropping an elbow onto him. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Chyna came to the ring as HBK ripped off Mankind's mask. Ravishing Rick Rude made his return, clobbering Mankind with a chair. This allowed HBK to pick up the victory with sweet chin music. The Undertaker marched to the ring, but was interrupted by Paul Bearer, who said he'd burn in hell. The main event of the August 18th Raw is War featured HBK and Hunter Hearst Helmsley against The Undertaker and Mankind. Rick Rude made his way to the ring once again. HBK and Helmsley proved to be a formidable duo, spending most of the match double-teaming Mankind. Rude distracted The Undertaker, allowing HBK to clobber him with a chair and bust him wide open. Wielding a heavily dented chair, HBK clobbered a bloody Undertaker once again. The main event of the September 7th In Your House Ground Zero featured HBK against The Undertaker. The Undertaker immediately knocked out the referee, with HBK attempting to retreat. Commissioner Slaughter ordered HBK back to the ring. Undertaker lifted referee Mike Chioda and tossed him at HBK. Undertaker chased HBK onto the stage and tossed him into the In Your House set. HBK continued to suffer a beatdown from Undertaker around the ringside area. Undertaker was vicious, beating down HBK with a flurry of big moves. HBK brought a chair into the ring, but it was quickly apprehended by The Undertaker. As Undertaker raised the chair above his head, referee Earl Hebner pulled it away from him. HBK hit Undertaker, which caused the chair to strike Hebner. Rude came to ringside, tossing brass knuckles to HBK. HBK knocked Undertaker out with the brass knuckles and attempted a pinfall, but only got a 2 count. Helmsley and Chyna came to ringside and pounded on Undertaker. The Undertaker fought back, even preventing a shot from Sweet Chin Music. After HBK kicked out at 2 from a chokeslam, a frustrated Undertaker chokeslammed referee Earl Hebner. Referee Tim White ran to the ring and declared the bout a double disqualification. HBK super kicked Undertaker, tying him up in the ropes. Helmsley and Chyna aided in the beatdown, with Undertaker battling back. Undertaker delivered a tombstone to Helmsley. Several superstars ran to the ring to separate HBK and The Undertaker. Undertaker leaped over the top rope and onto HBK, taking out several other superstars in the process. The following night, Vince McMahon interviewed The Undertaker, who hyped his match with HBK in the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. The following week, HBK came to the ring for an interview with JR. HBK discussed the Hell in a Cell, a giant cage with a roof on it, showing no fear for his upcoming match. The Undertaker appeared on the Titantron, cutting a promo behind a steel cage. Birmingham, England was the site of the first ever UK-only WWF pay-per-view, one night only. Taking place on September 20th, the show featured 2 matches especially worth noting. The first featured WWF champion Bret the Hitman Hart defending his title against The Undertaker. Hart wore down Taker's leg and eventually locked in the sharpshooter. Undertaker powered out of the hold, just as he did at SummerSlam. Hart brought the ring bell into the ring, with Undertaker getting a hold of it. The referee tossed it aside before either superstar used the foreign object. Hart attempted a tombstone on Undertaker until it was reversed. Undertaker dropped Hart on the ropes, with the Hitman getting his head caught in the first and second rope. The Undertaker continued pummeling Hart, with the referee disqualifying the dead man. The main event pit WWF European Champion the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith against the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. The Bulldog dedicated the bout to his sister Tracy, who, despite battling cancer, accompanied her brother to the ring. The fans roared for the Bulldog, with HBK doing his best to annoy the British crowd. The Bulldog dominated early on, tossing HBK around like a ragdoll. Ravishing Rick Rude came to ringside to aid HBK, taking shots at the Bulldog every chance he could. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Chyna joined Rude, pummeling the Bulldog behind the referee's back. Despite this, the Bulldog fought back resiliently. He attempted a running power slam on the floor, but his right leg slipped in between the platform and guardrail. This allowed HBK to tune up the band and hit sweet chin music on the Bulldog on the floor. Like a pack of hyenas, Helmsley, Rude, and Chyna stomped on the Bulldog. They crushed his leg against the guardrail, and Helmsley hit a pedigree. Once back in the ring, HBK ripped off Bulldog's knee brace and locked in a figure 4 leg lock. HBK reached for Helmsley and Chyna, who provided unfair leverage. With the Bulldog writhing in pain, referee Earl Hebner stopped the match. HBK was crowned the new WWF European Champion. The fans began pelting trash into the ring as HBK gloated about his victory over the microphone. HBK dedicated the match to the Bulldog's wife Diana, who sat in the front row. Diana hopped the guardrail and clawed at HBK until Chyna got a hold of her. Bret and Owen Hart ran to the ring for the save. Helmsley carried off HBK with fans tossing garbage at him. The Undertaker appeared on the September 22nd Raw is War for an interview with Vince McMahon. Concerning the Hell in the Cell, The Undertaker said, "There's only one way out, and that's over my dead body." HBK interrupted, carrying his newly won WWF European Championship. He said that he'd bring the pain at In Your House Bad Blood. Later in the show, HBK came to the ring carrying the same chair he used to bust open The Undertaker. HBK sat on that very chair and called out The Undertaker. Undertaker came out, only to be attacked from behind by Helmsley, Rude, and Chyna. The 4-on-1 beatdown continued, with Undertaker getting clobbered repeatedly with a chair. The September 29th Raw is War began with HBK, Helmsley, Rude, and Chyna coming to the ring for an interview with Vince McMahon. HBK showed no fear, ready for his Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker in 6 days. He handed the microphone over to Helmsley, who laid into McMahon for holding him back. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted, saying HBK wouldn't make it out of Hell in a Cell without luck. Slaughter then informed Helmsley that he'd be facing The Undertaker in the main event. The Hart Foundation interrupted and said HBK and Helmsley would pay for their crimes tonight. Helmsley took on The Undertaker in the main event. The Hart Foundation attacked Undertaker prior to the bout, with Helmsley and HBK continuing the assault. Undertaker fought back and eventually got Helmsley up in the tombstone. Rude interfered and clobbered Undertaker on the back with a briefcase. HBK continued the assault, hitting sweet chin music on Undertaker. Rude took a body bag out from his briefcase. HBK and Helmsley zipped Undertaker into the body bag. Suddenly, The Undertaker sat up and ripped open the body bag. He fended off HBK and Helmsley, stalking them up the ramp. Undertaker delivered a tombstone to Helmsley as HBK climbed up the Titantron as the show went off the air. In Your House, Bad Blood took place on October 5th and was headlined by the first ever Hell in a Cell match. The Undertaker and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels competed in one of the greatest matches of all time. The match began with The Undertaker obliterating HBK. HBK sacrificed his body to gain the advantage. He used the steel ring steps to clobber Undertaker on the floor. HBK then delivered a pile driver to Undertaker onto the steel steps. Throughout the bout, a specific cameraman kept getting in the way of HBK. Finally reaching his boiling point, HBK attacked the cameraman. Officials entered the cell to stretcher out the injured cameraman. Meanwhile, HBK hit The Undertaker with sweet chin music. The Undertaker sat up immediately. A scared HBK broke through the pack of officials and escaped through the door. He threw a dropkick at The Undertaker, which the dead man deflected. Undertaker slingshotted HBK into the side of the cell, busting him wide open. HBK rose to his feet, with blood streaming down his face. Undertaker lifted him up and rammed him into the side of the cell like a javelin. HBK climbed the cell in an effort to escape. Undertaker followed, press slamming HBK on top of the cell. HBK attempted to climb down the cell, with The Undertaker stomping on his fingers. This caused HBK to fall off the cell and through the Spanish announce table. Undertaker climbed down and hip-tossed a bloody HBK onto the French broadcast table. As the two re-entered the cell, referee Earl Hebner locked the door behind him. Undertaker clobbered HBK over the head with a chair, bringing the feud full circle. The lights then turned red, with Paul Bearer leading a masked superstar to the ring. He ripped the cell door right off its hinges. The man stared The Undertaker in the eyes and then raised his arms high in the air. As he brought them down, fire shot from the ring posts. Vince McMahon delivered the classic line, "That's gotta be Kane." The presumed Kane delivered a tombstone to The Undertaker. A bloody HBK crawled on top of The Undertaker, with the referee making the 3 count. Helmsley and Chyna came to the ring to drag a victorious HBK out of the cell. Newcomer The Patriot was victorious in a 20-man battle royal on the August 9th edition of Shotgun Saturday Night. Last eliminating Vader, The Patriot earned himself a shot at the WWF Championship. 2 days later on Raw is War, The Patriot cut a promo backstage and called out WWF Champion Bret the Hitman Hart. Hart attacked him from behind with a chair and stomped on him until officials broke things up. On the August 18th Raw is War, The Patriot squared off with Vader. Bret Hart observed from the top of the ramp, carrying the Canadian flag. The Patriot picked up a victory with the Uncle Slam. Vader attacked following the bout and prepared to hit the Patriot with a Vader bomb. Bret came in and buried the Patriot with the Canadian flag. Enraged, Vader climbed down the ropes and snapped the flagpole in two. Vader and Bret brawled, with officials rushing to the ring. Owen and the Bulldog ran in to join in on the brawl. Bret Hart defended the WWF Championship against the Patriot on September 7th at In Your House Ground Zero. The Patriot managed to hit an Uncle Slam, with the British Bulldog breaking the count at 2. Vader ran out and attacked the Bulldog, with Bret joining in on the brawl. Despite the interference, the match continued. The Patriot took it to Bret, even putting him in a sharpshooter. Bret reversed the hold, making the Patriot pass out to win the match. Despite the finish, Bret continued his assault on the Patriot. Bret grabbed the American flag and snapped the flagpole. He proceeded to choke the Patriot with the flag. Officials rushed to the ring, with Bret eventually leaving the ring with his championship. The following night on Raw is War, Bret Hart faced Vader in a no-holds-barred match. Bret immediately attacked Vader with the WWF Championship, leaving him reeling. Vader fought back and clobbered Bret with the championship. Before Vader could hit the Vader Bomb, the British Bulldog interfered. The Patriot evened the odds, with Owen Hart aiding the Hart Foundation. Bret clobbered Vader and the Patriot with a steel chair. Owen attempted a pile driver on the Patriot onto a chair. Stone Cold Steve Austin interfered to a thunderous ovation, attacking Owen and chasing him to the back. Vader faced the Bulldog on the September 29th Raw is War. Just as he was about to hit the Vader Bomb on the British Bulldog, the Hart Foundation attacked Vader. The Patriot ran in, but was outnumbered and beaten. In the end, Vader and the Patriot were buried under Canadian flags. This all led up to a flag match at the October 5th In Your House Bad Blood, featuring Bret Hart and the British Bulldog against Vader and the Patriot. Prior to the bout, it was announced that pinfalls and submissions were legal, or you could capture your country's flag for a victory. It was a hard-hitting battle in a race for the flag, with all four holding nothing back. In the end, Bret knocked out Vader with the ring bell. Bret went on to reverse a pin and hook the tights of the Patriot to score the pinfall. The Patriot and Vader attacked after the bell, but it was quickly dissolved. This would be the end of the Patriot's short run with the company. The Legion of Doom defeated the Godwins on the April 26th Shotgun Saturday night. The bout ended when LOD hit the Doomsday device. Henry Godwin landed on top of his head, breaking his neck. The Godwins made their return on the July 14th Raw is War, attacking LOD on the ramp. Henry hit a slop drop on Hawk onto the steel ramp, busting open the back of his head. The following week, LOD cut a scathing promo on the Godwins and challenged them to a match at SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, LOD won a hard-fought battle after delivering a spike pile driver to Henry Godwin. 2 months later at In Your House Bad Blood, the Godwins defeated the Headbangers to become the new WWF Tag Team Champions. Accompanied by their Uncle Cletus, the Godwins continued the beatdown. The LOD received a WWF Tag Team title shot against the Godwins on the October 13th Raw is War. Prior to the bout, Hawk and Animal vowed to retire if they didn't win the championships. In the main event, the Godwins pummeled LOD, injuring Animal's arm. Henry Godwin hit a slop drop on the referee and then beat down Hawk. Animal ran back to the ring and cleaned house. Uncle Cletus got involved and swung his lucky horseshoe at Animal. Animal ducked and Cletus knocked out Henry. Hawk hit a flying clothesline on Phineas Godwin to score the pinfall victory. The Legion of Doom became the new WWF Tag Team Champions. The Godwins pummeled Cletus following the bout, breaking his nose in the process. Dude Love came to the ring on the October 20th Raw is War, prepared for a match with the British Bulldog. Instead, the lights turned red and Paul Bearer led Kane to the ring. Dude was quick to attack Kane, but his efforts did little damage. Kane hoisted Dude high in the air and chokeslammed him twice onto the steel ramp. Later in the show, Mankind cut a promo from the Boiler Room. Mankind said The Undertaker has problems fighting his brother, but he doesn't. The following week on Raw is War, Jim Ross interviewed Mankind in the ring. Mankind directed his anger at Paul Bearer and Kane. He said, "Paul Bearer, what you did was you took an innocent kid and you ruined him." He expressed his problems with what Kane did to Dude Love. Ultimately, he begged for a match with Kane. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted and said that because of Mankind's current mental state, he wouldn't sanction the match. Mankind said, "What if I said please?" Slaughter didn't change his decision, so Mankind attacked him with the mandible claw. Ahmed Johnson came to the ring on the November 3rd Raw is War, ready to face Stone Cold Steve Austin. Instead, the lights turned red and Paul Bearer led Kane to the ring. Kane delivered a tombstone to Johnson, with Bearer ordering him to do it again. Kane obliged, which brought out Mankind. He quickly applied the mandible claw onto Bearer, and then knocked out Kane with a lead pipe. Moments later, Kane sat up, with Mankind wielding a chair to keep him back. Kane made his in-ring debut at the Survivor Series against Mankind. The lights turned red as Kane decimated Mankind. Bearer cackled as Kane tossed the ring steps at Mankind. Mankind fought back and even applied the mandible claw onto Bearer. Kane made the save and tossed Mankind from the apron all the way through the Spanish broadcast table. Shortly after, Kane launched Mankind off the top rope and kidney first onto the floor. Kane capitalized with the tombstone to pick up a pinfall victory. The night after In Your House Bad Blood, HBK came to the ring with 16 stitches in his forehead. Accompanied by Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Chyna, HBK granted an interview to Michael Cole. HBK said Cole hadn't gotten a proper introduction to the company yet, with Chyna giving him a mega wedgie. HBK, Helmsley, and Chyna all lifted Cole up as the wedgie commenced. HBK gave his victory speech, gloating about his win inside Hell in a Cell. Helmsley declared HBK the icon, the showstopper, and the main event. Highlights were supposed to be shown from the match, but instead we saw the footage of the curtain call from the previous year. That moment was highly controversial and a sensitive topic with Vince McMahon. HBK and Helmsley got in McMahon's face at the broadcast booth, further goading him. After a commercial break, HBK and Helmsley continued harassing McMahon at ringside. The Hart Foundation interrupted, with WWF champion Bret the Hitman Hart calling HBK a disgrace. He went on to call him a degenerate and insult Helmsley in the process. Bret issued a challenge for Helmsley to face him in the main event. He added that at Survivor Series, he'd kick HBK's scrawny ass. Bret and Helmsley squared off in the main event. HBK made his presence felt at ringside, sticking the Canadian flag up his nose. The Hart Foundation soon came to ringside to watch over Bret. The champion locked the sharpshooter in, with Chyna helping Helmsley reach the bottom rope. This led to Bret looking to apply the figure 4 on Helmsley around the ring post. Chyna leveled Hart with a big right hand. HBK then lunged at Bret with sweet chin music, knocking him out. Helmsley gained a victory by countout. The Hart Foundation came to the ring on the October 13th Raw is War for an interview with Vince McMahon. HBK, Helmsley, Chyna, and Rude interrupted from backstage via the Titantron. They gloated about their beatdown on Bret last week, with HBK hyping his match at the Survivor Series. Both HBK and Helmsley confessed that Bret was right in calling them degenerates. HBK went on to officially name his group Degeneration X. The Nation of Domination interrupted, with Owen Hart competing against Kama Mustafa. DX took over on commentary, mocking the action in the ring and eating bananas. The Hart Foundation and the Nation brawled at ringside. With the action out of hand, the referee declared the bout a double disqualification. The following week, Michael Cole reported from the locker room of the Nation of Domination. It had been vandalized, and all the clues pointed towards the Hart Foundation as the culprits. At least that's what DX told the Nation. Farouk came to the ring, shouting at Vince McMahon and questioning whether or not he's a racist. Backed by the Nation, Farouk called out WWF champion Bret the Hitman Hart. The bell rang, with Bret and Farouk competing. DX soon came out, with HBK calling Bret a racist. The Nation and the Hart Foundation brawled at ringside, with DX retreating up the ramp. Order was restored, and the match resumed. Chaos erupted once again between the factions, tying up the referee. Stone Cold Steve Austin ran in from the crowd and hit Farouk with a Stone Cold Stunner. This allowed Bret to gain a pinfall victory over Farouk. Later, WWF European Champion, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, faced the WWF Intercontinental Champion, Owen Hart. Prior to the bout, Owen claimed he'd leave his boys out of the match if HBK did the same. HBK agreed, with the two competing in a fair fight. Stone Cold Steve Austin interfered, delivering a stunner to the referee. HBK then hit Owen with sweet chin music. Bret ran to the ring and pounded on HBK with right hands. DX ran in to save HBK from further punishment. The October 27th Raw is War began with Vince McMahon interviewing the Nation of Domination in the ring. McMahon tried to apologize for the vandalism to their locker room the prior week. Farouk wasn't very receptive and challenged the Hart Foundation to a fight. The Hart Foundation interrupted, with Bret saying that Canadians aren't racists. He went on to blame DX for the vandalism. DX appeared on the Titantron, defending themselves, and claimed the Hart Foundation were the true racists. The Nation and the Harts wound up brawling, with officials separating the two factions. Later, Bret defended the WWF Championship against Ken Shamrock. Bret attempted a sharpshooter, with Shamrock reversing it into an ankle lock. The referee was knocked out during the reversal, unconscious while Bret tapped out. Shamrock tried waking the referee up, with Bret clobbering him from behind with a steel chair. As Bret applied the sharpshooter, HBK interfered. HBK pounded on Bret, angering Shamrock. Shamrock snapped, attacking HBK. Officials ran in to break up the action, but were unsuccessful. HBK and Bret brawled, with their respective stablemates separating them. Later, DX appeared on the Titantron from their locker room. HBK delivered a message to Bret. He dropped his pants and mooned the camera. The Survivor Series took place on November 9th from Montreal. It featured the most controversial match in the history of the company. WWF Champion Bret the Hitman Hart versus the WWF European Champion, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. HBK began goading the Canadian fans early, defiling the Canadian flag in the middle of the ring during his entrance. Bret marched to the ring to a rousing ovation. The two brawled in the opening moments, with Bret dragging HBK through the hostile crowd. Amidst the chaos, a slew of officials, including Vince McMahon, made their way to ringside in an attempt to get the match back into the ring. Their efforts initially failed, as the brawl made its way up the aisle and towards the entrance. Finally, Bret dragged HBK to the ring and choked him with the Quebec flag to signal the official start of the bout. The match was intense, with the two wearing one another down with big moves and submissions. Things came to a head when Bret leaped off the second rope with a forearm smash. HBK shoved referee Earl Hebner in the way, knocking him out. This gave HBK the advantage, and he applied Bret's own sharpshooter onto him. As HBK turned Bret over to lock in the hold, Hebner immediately called for the bell and raced away up the aisle. Bret Hart had been screwed out of the WWF Championship. JR on commentary asked, "What happened?" As reality set in, Bret locked eyes with McMahon and spit in his eye. HBK snatched the WWF Championship and was escorted away by Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Gerald Briscoe. After the show went off the air, Bret went ballistic at ringside, smashing a television monitor and motioning WCW with his finger. He was joined in the ring by fellow Hart Foundation members to close out a night that would forever live in infamy. The November 17th Raw is War featured JR conducting a sit-down interview with Vince McMahon. McMahon sported a black eye from a backstage altercation with Bret Hart after the Survivor Series. JR started strong, asking McMahon if he screwed Bret. McMahon replied, saying Bret Hart screwed Bret Hart. He continued, saying that Bret didn't have the respect to conduct business like a professional on his final night with the company. McMahon cited that due to creative differences, he let Bret out of his contract to conduct negotiations with WCW. As the interview went on, McMahon said that he had no sympathy for Bret. Part 2 of the interview aired later in the show,
with JR asking McMahon if Bret would ever be welcomed back. McMahon said that pending an apology, he'd welcome Bret back. He thinks Bret sold out, but didn't see that as much of a problem since he helped initiate the talks with WCW. JR's final question for McMahon was what would he say to Bret if he could. McMahon said that Bret made a mistake that he's going to regret. He went on to say that he's going to choose to remember the good times with Bret. Finally, McMahon added that Bret has proved that he's not the best there is, was, or ever will be. Harvey Whippleman came to the ring on the November 24th Raw is War, impersonating ravishing Rick Rude. This was in direct response to Rude appearing on WCW Nitro the prior week. Since Raw had been taped the week prior, it was a bizarre case of Rude appearing on both WWF and WCW programming in the same night. Whippleman introduced DX, with HBK shoving him out of the ring upon entrance. HBK went on to say that he's been losing sleep since the Survivor Series, so he contacted Bret Hart. He said that Bret will be there tonight to end all of the controversy. DX came to the ring at the top of the second hour. HBK introduced Bret with the truth finally revealed. A little person wearing a Bret mask came to the ring as HBK and Helmsley laughed hysterically. HBK reenacted the controversial Survivor Series moment, putting little Bret in a sharpshooter. Helmsley provided commentary over the microphone, insulting Bret and talking up HBK. Little Bret quit over the microphone and was forced to proclaim HBK as the best there is, was, and ever will be. A furious Jim the Anvil Neidhart interrupted, standing up for the Hart family. HBK convinced Neidhart that Bret had used him for years and offered him a spot in DX. He'd have till the end of the show to make a decision. HBK faced Vader in the main event. Accompanying HBK was Helmsley, Chyna, and new DX member Jim the Anvil Neidhart. As Vader bounced on the ropes in preparation for a Vader bomb on HBK, Helmsley threw hot coffee in his eyes. This allowed HBK to hit Vader with sweet chin music to secure the victory. Following the bout as DX posed together, Chyna low-blowed Jim the Anvil Neidhart. DX began to decimate Neidhart, proving the whole thing was a ruse. Paul Bearer led Kane to the ring on the October 6th Raw is War, instructing him to destroy enhancement talents, the Hardy Boys. Upon decimation, Bearer got on the microphone and formally introduced Kane. Bearer welcomed The Undertaker to his worst nightmare. The Undertaker cut a backstage promo on the October 20th Raw is War, saying that he'd never fight his own brother. The Undertaker battled Kama on the November 10th Raw is War. Before Undertaker could pick up a victory, the lights turned red, and Kane and Paul Bearer stood on the stage. Bearer said that Kane wants to make Undertaker suffer. Undertaker reiterated that he'd never fight his brother Kane. Kane caused fire to shoot from the ring posts as he and Bearer exited. The company introduced a minis division featuring Mascarita Sagrada Jr., who would later become Max Mini. Max Mini and El Torito had an excellent bout at In Your House
Ground Zero.
The division also featured mini versions of current superstars such as Mini Vader, Mini Goldust, and Mini Mankind. The light heavyweight division kicked off at In Your House Canadian Stampede, featuring a fantastic bout between the Great Sasuke and Taka Michinoku. A rematch took place the following night on Raw is War, resulting in another excellent bout. Soon after, a tournament was announced to crown the first ever WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. The tournament featured the likes of Scott Taylor, Super Loco, who would later be known as Super Crazy, Yoshihiro Tajiri, and the son of Polish power Ivan Putski, Scott Putski. The finals of the tournament took place on December 7th at In Your House Degeneration X. The bout featured Taka Michinoku against Too Sexy Brian Christopher. Michinoku was victorious after hitting Christopher with the Michinoku Driver to become the first WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. Starting on the October 6th Raw is War, weekly studio promos began airing from Jim Cornette. He spoke candidly about WCW, the state of wrestling, and longtime WWF detractor Phil Mushnick. Cornette promoted the importance of tradition and the need for wrestling to turn back to its roots. The 1997 Slammy Awards took place the night before WrestleMania 13 and featured an excellent opening number by Todd Pettengill. Owen Hart presented the award for Best Bow Tie. In typical fashion, Owen stole the award, declaring himself a two-time Slammy Award winner. His hot streak continued on the April 28th Raw is War when Owen defeated Rocky Maivia to become the new WWF Intercontinental Champion. Owen went on to have a successful reign, even defending the title in the first ever televised triple threat match in company history against Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Goldust on the June 23rd Raw is War. Jeff Jarrett returned to the promotion in a series of studio interviews with Jim Ross. The interviews featured Jarrett complaining about his treatment in both WWF and the WCW. Jim Ross made a huge announcement on the December 29th Raw is War. He revealed that the WWF was in negotiations with boxing legend Iron Mike Tyson. Vince McMahon appeared in a monumental vignette on the December 15th Raw is War. In it, McMahon announced that in an effort to avoid insulting the fans' intelligence, the company would be moving in a more reality-based direction. McMahon said that fans were tired of the simple good guy versus bad guy formula. He'd go on to refer to Raw is War as the cure for the common show. Santa Claus sat in the ring on the December 22nd Raw is War. He was hoping to meet Sable, but was instead greeted by a child. The child accused Claus of being a fraud. After Claus kicked the kid out of the ring, Stone Cold Steve Austin made his entrance. Austin polled the crowd, who said hell no when he asked if this was the real Santa Claus. At that, Austin delivered a Stone Cold Stunner to the imposter. The artist formerly known as Goldust came to the ring on the December 29th Raw is War, dressed in a baby diaper. He announced he'd be entering the Royal Rumble. Also entered in the match was Stone Cold Steve Austin, who Goldust called out. Austin made his entrance and said he wasn't there to wrestle. He said he had something special in store for Goldust. A porta potty was lowered from the ceiling with a sign on the door reading Crapper 316. Goldust attempted to sneak up on Austin. Instead, Austin outsmarted Goldust and threw him into the porta potty, tipping it over before exiting. In the spring, the Honky Tonk Man began his search for a new protege. On the March 31st Raw is War, he presented Double J Jesse James with his prized guitar. In turn, James smashed the guitar, closing the door on any partnership with the Honky Tonk Man. The following week on Raw is War, the Honky Tonk Man offered his services to Billy Gunn. After initially declining, Gunn debuted as Rockabilly at the April 20th In Your House Revenge of the Taker. Rockabilly would go on to lose to Jesse James. Rockabilly and the Honky Tonk Man came to the ring on the October 11th Shotgun Saturday Night. They were interrupted by the man now known as the Road Dogg Jesse James. The Road Dogg proposed a team with Rockabilly. Billy responded by smashing a guitar over the Honky Tonk Man's head. The New Age Outlaws were formed, comprised of Road Dogg Jesse James and the badass Billy Gunn. The New Age Outlaws fought their first match on the October 20th Raw is War. They defeated the Headbangers after smashing a boombox over Thrasher's head. A bout between WWF Tag Team Champions the Legion of Doom and the New Age Outlaws was signed for the November 24th Raw is War. During the bout, badass Billy Gunn used a chair on Animal to secure a victory. The New Age Outlaws were crowned the new WWF Tag Team Champions. A rematch was signed for the December 7th In Your House Degeneration X. The Godwins interfered, attacking LOD with metal buckets. Hawk got a hold of one of the buckets and began hitting everyone in sight. Thus, the Outlaws retained their titles by disqualification. LOD saw themselves in the main event of the December 15th Raw is War. Their opponents were DX, who had a dangerous trick up their sleeve. The Outlaws and Chyna interfered to beat down LOD and ultimately cause a disqualification. A brutal attack ensued on LOD. Road Dogg knocked out Hawk with chloroform, with Gunn shaving off half his mohawk. DX and the Outlaws then worked together to powerbomb Animal through the broadcast table. DX complimented the Outlaws as they marched away up the ramp. The Undertaker faced Jeff Jarrett at the December 7th In Your House Degeneration X. Kane interfered, attacking Jarrett to cause a disqualification. Undertaker and Kane then had a tense stare-down. Kane broke the tension by striking his brother, with Undertaker refusing to fight back. Jarrett attempted to attack Undertaker, but failed miserably. The Undertaker left Jarrett lying after a chokeslam. Michael Cole conducted an in-ring interview with The Undertaker on the December 15th Raw is War. Cole announced that The Undertaker would face WWF champion, the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, in a casket match at the Royal Rumble. Upon showing no fear for that match, Kane interrupted Undertaker's promo. Kane stared at his brother as Paul Bearer spoke over the microphone. Bearer reminded Taker of the anguish he's put Kane through. Kane slapped Undertaker across the face. He attempted to do it a second time, but Taker blocked it and stared back at his brother before exiting. Kane shot fire from the ring posts as Undertaker walked away up the ramp. The Undertaker faced The Rock on the December 22nd Raw is War. Not only did the Nation of Domination attack The Undertaker, but Paul Bearer came to ringside to further cause a distraction. Despite this, Undertaker managed to hit a tombstone on The Rock. The lights turned red, and Kane made his way to the ring. Bearer berated Undertaker on the microphone, calling him a shell of his former self. Kane attacked Undertaker, with the dead man only temporarily grabbing his brother by the throat. As Bearer cackled, Kane continued his beatdown on The Undertaker. A coalition of superstars banded together on the following week's Raw is War in an attempt to stop Kane's madness. As the group surrounded Kane in the ring, The Undertaker made his dramatic entrance. Shockingly, Undertaker fought off the group of superstars and aided his brother. After the ring was cleared, The Undertaker walked away up the ramp. The night after the Survivor Series, Michael Cole interviewed the new WWF Intercontinental Champion, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Rock, Rocky Maivia, interrupted and issued a challenge to Austin, claiming that he's actually the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Showing no fear, Austin accepted. The following week on Raw is War, Austin called out Maivia. The Rock responded, but sent his fellow Nation of Domination members to the ring to do his dirty work. While Austin stunned D'Lo Brown, The Rock ran in and stole the Intercontinental Championship. Later in the show, The Rock was in action against Dude Love. The bout ended in a disqualification after the Nation of Domination attacked Dude. Austin ran in for the save, but The Rock managed to escape with the Intercontinental Championship. Michael Cole attempted to interview the Nation of Domination on the November 24th Raw is War. The Rock stole the microphone and shoved Cole away. The words "Rocky sucks" appeared on the Titantron, with the lights flickering. Stone Cold Steve Austin was shown inside the production truck, making an effort to humiliate The Rock. He then addressed Rocky Maivia, saying, "When you're walking through the airport and your little beeper goes off and it says 316, you know your ass belongs to Stone Cold." Austin then asked if this was live or Memorex. At that, Austin snuck up behind The Rock. Rock's beeper went off, and he was bewildered by the number. Austin attacked, with the Nation saving The Rock from further punishment. Austin and Rock squared off on December 7th at In Your House, Degeneration X. Rock strutted confidently to the ring, wearing the stolen Intercontinental title. While Rock was backed by the Nation, Austin drove his pickup truck to the ring to even the score. The Nation beat down Austin before the bell rang. Just when they thought Austin was out, he rose to his feet. D'Lo charged at Austin, but was backdropped through the truck's windshield. Austin dragged D'Lo to the roof and delivered a stone-cold stunner. Back on the floor, Austin made quick work of Farouk and Kama. Rock got a hold of Austin and pummeled him in the ring. After a confusing exchange, Austin accidentally stunned the referee. This allowed Rock to pull out a pair of brass knuckles. He went for a swing, but Austin blocked it and hit a stunner. Another referee ran in to make the 3 count, with Austin retaining and regaining his Intercontinental Championship. Vince McMahon came to the ring the following night on Raw is War. He said that Austin endangered the life of the fans last night by driving his truck into the arena. McMahon added that the initial referee in the bout intended to disqualify Austin. Therefore, McMahon ordered Austin to defend his title against The Rock that evening. Austin came to the ring and said he takes exception to McMahon ordering him to compete. McMahon said that since he's the owner of the WWF, he gets to make those decisions. If Austin chose not to compete, he'd be stripped of the Intercontinental Championship. The main event came, with The Rock strutting confidently to the ring. Austin made his entrance in street clothes and decided he didn't want to compete. He forfeited the title to The Rock, with McMahon as the mediator. Austin claimed that he had bigger fish to fry and said that he was eyeing the WWF Championship. After Rock was officially declared the new Intercontinental Champion, Austin stunned him. Austin said he had plans for the championship next week and took the title with him. As McMahon exited the ring, Austin ran the ropes. McMahon hit the floor, with officials helping him to his feet. An irate McMahon threw down his jacket, grabbed a chair, and threatened Austin. A slew of officials got between the two, with McMahon later apologizing for his actions. The nation stood in the ring on the December 15th Raw is War. Rock ordered Austin to return his Intercontinental Championship. Austin quickly made his entrance and said that Rock's in way over his head. Rock said that Austin had 1 hour to return the title, or the nation would scour the arena and beat it out of him. The clock ran out on the air, but Austin had already left the arena. He stood atop a nearby bridge with the Intercontinental Championship in hand. Austin heaved the title into the water far below. A wide-eyed Rock looked in awe at the Titantron as his championship sunk. With Wildman Mark Marrow injured, the spotlight began to shine on his manager, Sable. She made a big impression at the 1997 Slammy Awards, wearing a revealing bikini to be crowned Miss Slammy. Marrow returned to the ring in the fall and declared himself marvelous. He was noticeably angrier and didn't treat Sable with the respect she deserved. The next installment in the feud took place on the December 1st Raw is War. Jim Cornette interviewed Marrow and Sable in the ring. Marrow chastised Sable and said she'd be nothing without him. He'd go on to demonstrate some skills in preparation for a boxing match with Butterbean at the next In Your House. Marrow put his foot down on the December 8th Raw is War. He forced Sable to come to the ring wearing a potato sack. Sable responded by ripping off the sack to reveal another revealing bikini. Sergeant Slaughter became the new WWF commissioner the night after SummerSlam and made very few allies. The biggest thorn in his side was Hunter Hearst Helmsley. On the October 13th Raw is War, Helmsley was scheduled to face the Patriot. As the Patriot made his entrance, Rick Rude threw hot coffee in his face. HBK congratulated Helmsley on a hard-fought victory. Slaughter interrupted and said he was sick of the lack of respect from DX. HBK responded by uttering for the first time 2 words that would be chanted at WWF events for years to come. Suck it. Slaughter responded by introducing Ahmed Johnson as Helmsley's opponent. Ahmed was attacked by the Nation of Domination as he made his entrance. DX watched from the stage, eating popcorn as madness ensued. Michael Cole interviewed DX on the November 3rd Raw is War. Helmsley cut off Cole's questions and commended him on doing a great job as of late. This was all part of a humiliating prank as Chyna kneeled down behind Cole. Helmsley shoved Cole, who tumbled over Chyna. HBK grabbed the microphone and said that after his victory at the Survivor Series, he'll celebrate by walking around naked next week on Raw is War. He also wanted to give Ken Shamrock the first crack at the title. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted and began speaking. DX interrupted him and put on face masks to shield themselves from Slaughter's spit as he talked. They went on to claim that the masks weren't enough and connected wipers to wipe away any excess spit. The disrespect had only just begun. Helmsley called out Slaughter on the November 17th Raw is War, publicly insulting him. He made disparaging remarks about Slaughter's wife. Out came Slaughter, who slapped Helmsley across the face. DX attacked, with Slaughter taking numerous briefcase shots. Helmsley hit Slaughter with a pedigree in the middle of the ring. DX then covered Slaughter with toilet paper. Later in the show, Slaughter came to the ring and challenged Helmsley to a boot camp match at In Your House Degeneration X. December 7th was the date of the boot camp match. Slaughter was vicious, whipping Helmsley with his riding crop and laying the boots to him. Helmsley was whipped all around ringside and literally whipped with a belt by Slaughter. Chyna got involved, attacking the referee and stalking Slaughter with a chair. But Slaughter stayed on guard and threw powder in Chyna's eyes. Slaughter applied his signature Cobra Clutch on Helmsley. Chyna made the save, hitting Slaughter hard with a low blow. This allowed Helmsley to hit Slaughter with a pedigree onto a chair. The referee awoke to count 3, with Helmsley picking up a big victory. The night after the Survivor Series, DX opened Raw is War with the hostile Canadian crowd heckling them. New WWF champion the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels gave his victory speech while the fans roared, "We want Bret." HBK addressed the fans, provoking them by saying he defeated Bret Hart with his own submission. He took credit for Bret leaving for WCW. HBK said, "I ran his ass down south with the rest of those dinosaurs." Ken Shamrock interrupted, fearlessly marching into the ring to confront HBK and DX. Shamrock called DX a disgrace and challenged HBK to fight him right then. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted the bickering, calling Shamrock the #1 contender. However, Shamrock would face Helmsley tonight with DX banned from ringside. Helmsley and Shamrock competed in the main event. Shamrock dominated, with Rick Rude attempting to interfere. Slaughter held Rude back, while Helmsley attacked the referee. Chyna ran in, but Slaughter held her back. With everyone preoccupied, HBK ran in and waffled Shamrock with Rude's briefcase. The show went off the air before a decision was rendered. Still, HBK taunted Shamrock en route to their first in-ring encounter. On the December 1st Raw is War, DX appeared on the stage. HBK sat in a wheelchair, but assured fans he wasn't injured. Chyna had been helping him train his legs to counter Shamrock's ankle lock. HBK said he's expanded his pain tolerance and asked Helmsley to demonstrate by twisting his ankle. Helmsley comedically twisted the ankle 360 degrees, revealing the gag. In the main event, Helmsley faced an angry Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Helmsley used a chair on Neidhart behind the referee's back and picked up the victory. Post-match, Helmsley pedigreed Neidhart on a chair, and HBK spray-painted WCW on his back. The beatdown continued as Neidhart was handcuffed to the top rope. Sergeant Slaughter ran in, but was beat down by DX. Shamrock ran in and cleaned house. The show ended with Shamrock making HBK tap in the ankle lock. HBK defended the WWF Championship against Ken Shamrock in the main event of In Your House Degeneration X. Helmsley and Chyna played a factor at ringside, getting cheap shots in on Shamrock at every opportunity. As Shamrock was about to lock in the ankle lock, Helmsley and Chyna ran in and caused a disqualification. As the beatdown of Shamrock continued, HBK posed on the ring apron. Owen Hart made his return, attacking HBK from behind, knocking him off the apron and through the broadcast table. Owen unleashed a flurry of right hands and clawed at HBK's eyes until Helmsley chased him off. JR conducted a two-part interview with Goldust and Marlena in early May. The interview revealed a personal side of Goldust, who talked about his strained relationship with his father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Things had changed drastically by the November 3rd Raw is War, where JR conducted another interview with Goldust and Marlena. Marlena said she'd never been happier now that the family was back together. Goldust, however, said that all this made him sick. He said Marlena won't let him be himself. Goldust said that when Marlena was away, he found somebody else that will let him be himself. He continued by saying he didn't love Marlena anymore and threw his wedding ring at her. Goldust competed at the Survivor Series as part of Team USA alongside Vader, Mark Marrow, and newcomer Steve Blackman. They battled the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Doug Furnace, and Philip LaFawn. Goldust turned on Vader during the bout and abandoned the rest of his team. The November 17th Raw is War was scheduled to feature a bout between Goldust and Vader. Goldust came to the ring with his arm in a sling, claiming he was unable to compete. As Vader voiced his opinion, Goldust pulled a hammer out of the sling. He knocked out Vader with the hammer and escaped unscathed. On the November 24th Raw is War, a nurse pushed Goldust down the ramp in a wheelchair. Goldust claimed that he has a debilitating disease that has spread throughout his body. Vader marched down the ramp to confront the supposedly injured Goldust. As Vader attacked Goldust, the nurse threw rubbing alcohol into the eyes of Vader. The nurse revealed herself to be Luna Vachon and joined Goldust in beating down Vader. In Your House, Degeneration X featured an appearance by Goldust and Luna. Luna led Goldust out on a leash and declared him the artist formerly known as Goldust. Goldust wore a pink wig and a bodysuit and proceeded to read Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. Goldust continued his bizarre shenanigans on the December 22nd Raw is War. This time, he dressed as a Christmas tree, wearing a green wig and wrapped in tinsel and lights. While Luna brooded in the background, Goldust sang "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Santa interrupted, throwing candy canes into the crowd. Luna screamed at Santa for interrupting while snow fell from the ceiling. Santa whacked Goldust with his Christmas sack and knocked him to the floor. As Goldust and Luna retreated, Santa revealed himself to be Vader. WWF Tag Team Champions The New Age Outlaws came to the ring on the December 8th Raw is War, claiming that there was no competition left in the tag team division. They were interrupted by Dude Love, who went on to have a match with badass Billy Gunn. The Road Dogg attacked Dude with a chair. Road Dogg laid the tag team titles onto Dude's face, with Gunn hitting a top rope leg drop to knock out Dude. Dude Love faced the Road Dogg the following week on Raw is War, picking up a victory with a double-arm DDT. The Outlaws attacked and dragged Dude up the ramp, suplexing him on the stage. Dude fought back until Billy Gunn hit him with a DDT onto the steel. As Dude rose to his feet, the Outlaws grabbed the referee. They swung the referee into Dude, knocking him off the stage and onto a table below. The Outlaws climbed down and continued to lay the boots to an injured Dude. On the December 22nd Raw is War, Mankind cut a chilling promo from the Boiler Room, saying he's going to get his hands on the Outlaws. The Outlaws put on miners' helmets and searched for Mankind amongst the dark Boiler Room. Mankind struck first, but the Outlaws outnumbered him and locked him in a freezer. The following week on Raw is War, the Outlaws gloated in the ring about their attack. Dude Love interrupted via the Titantron and said he was willing to step aside to let someone else settle the score. Dude morphed into Mankind, who then morphed into Cactus Jack. Cactus Jack announced that he wasn't coming alone. A giant wooden box sat on the stage, with someone using a chainsaw to escape. Cactus introduced his partner as Chainsaw Charlie, portrayed by Terry Funk. Charlie revved his chainsaw, and Cactus swung a bat wrapped in barbed wire to scare off the WWF Tag Team Champions. DX came to the ring on the December 8th Raw is War, with HBK referring to the Hart family as a turd and Owen Hart as a nugget. HBK called out Owen to no avail. With the challenge unanswered, DX set up a card table and began to play strip poker. Playing during several matches, Chyna took a commanding lead, taking the majority of the clothes from her fellow DX members. The Headbangers attempted to break the game up, but suffered a brutal beatdown. Thrasher was powerbombed through the card table, while Mosh had a whiskey bottle smashed over his head. Amidst the madness, Owen ran in from the crowd and attacked HBK. Once again, Owen escaped through the crowd before Helmsley or Chyna could get their hands on him. On the December 15th Raw is War, Vince McMahon ordered Owen Hart to come to the ring. McMahon demanded to know who Owen thought he was, interfering in matches and putting fans in danger. Owen turned the tables and asked McMahon who he thought he was for what he did to Bret. Owen added that nobody was going to run him out of the company. McMahon had security escort Owen out of the building to ensure that he wouldn't endanger any fans in attendance that evening. Owen grabbed McMahon by the jacket lapels before he was escorted away by police officers. DX came to the ring in bathrobes to open the December 22nd Raw is War. It wasn't long before they removed their robes to reveal G-strings underneath custom DX sensors. Commissioner Slaughter interrupted, leading DX to put their robes back on. Slaughter informed HBK that he hadn't defended his European Championship in some time. HBK balked back at him, saying that he was busy defending the WWF Championship, but he'd face whoever Slaughter wanted. Slaughter announced that Hunter Hearst Helmsley would be HBK's opponent. This immediately caused tension, with the two egomaniacs arguing over who would win. The match initially took place early in the evening. As Helmsley made his entrance, Owen Hart attacked him from behind. The match was postponed until the main event. HBK and Helmsley stalled until finally locking up. It was then that DX's master plan was revealed, with the two making a mockery of the match. HBK laid down as Helmsley hit an over-exaggerated splash on him. Helmsley was declared the new WWF European Champion. HBK grabbed the microphone and comedically wept and hugged Helmsley. Helmsley then declared that this was the greatest moment in his life before crotch-chopping in Slaughter's direction. Slaughter then decreed to the camera that Helmsley would be defending his newly won championship against Owen Hart the following week. Helmsley came out on crutches the following week, claiming to have a dislocated kneecap. The Undertaker's music played, with druids leading a casket to ringside. HBK popped out of the casket, removing a cloth to reveal a casket covered in DX graffiti. He went on to introduce the two newest members of DX, Chyna's new breast implants. Helmsley said, "We may have to change our names to Double Degeneration X." Commissioner Slaughter interrupted, saying that since Helmsley was injured, HBK would be forced to face Owen Hart that evening. The final Raw is War main event of the year featured HBK defending the WWF Championship against Owen Hart. After battling back and forth, Owen was nearly victorious after a series of near falls. Owen locked in a sharpshooter, but Helmsley broke a crutch over his head to cause a disqualification. The beatdown continued as the show went off the air. What controversy would surround Shawn Michaels and the WWF Championship in the new year? Find out next time on Squared Circle History.